Dear Shambra, during your summer break, I want you to truly take a look at if and why you sabotage yourself. There's nobody else doing it to you. That dark, cold energy, stealing energy that comes in on the eve of your successes is yours. You invited it in a long time ago. And just as much as you invited it in, you can also invite it out. As much as you created it, you can uncreate it. As a beautiful spiritual physics, anything that you create can be uncreated. I'd like to leave you with just 4 points, of course. Just 4 points in this last Šaud. Quite simply, the most important word in all of the world and all of the creation is you. Self. Self. Humans, especially oddly enough, highly evolved humans, have a hard time with self. If you go back through all the Šauds, all the 10 years of workshops, the most common words you're going to see in there are you and self. I want you to be self-full. I want you to consider yourself first. Oh, you've been trained to think that that's wrong. But you know, the ones who trained you to think that's wrong, they're going through their own hell right now. When you take care of yourself and when you love yourself, when you fall intimately, deeply in love with yourself and shamelessly in love with yourself, it's like magic. And it has more of an effect. Yeah, Calder doesn't like what I'm going to say, but you know, this is my last Šaud, so I'm going to say it. When you think of yourself first, it has more impact on this earth than 1,000 Mother Teresas. And that is true. Now, Mother Teresa was a wonderful icon for those who like suffering. And those who, I'm sorry, Caldra, but for those who like to earn their worthiness into heaven by suffering. Shambra, and this new energy, it's about loving yourself. For how can you ever tell anybody else about how to heal, about how to transform, about how to integrate with their spirit unless you've learned it first? The most important word is self. When you take yourself into consideration, then you'll come to understand something that has eluded many of you, the meaning behind I am that I am. Some of you say the words but have no idea what you're saying, and that's okay. Saint Germain's going to work with you. He has a special course he's designing called Remedial I Amness. So, the most important word is self. You. It's about accepting yourself. It's about the compassion. Compassion has to be for yourself first, otherwise it is meaningless in this world. The love has to be for yourself first, otherwise it is meaningless. And actually the word love is actually, if you take a look at its consciousness quotient, is becoming not such a good word anymore. In human energetic terms, it's coming to mean deception and energy stealing and falseness. When you truly love yourself, when you accept everything about yourself, no more this list of things you have to do to make yourself correct. I'm so tired of that, Shambra. I want you to throw out all your goals, all of the things you're working on, all your programs, everything else, because it just means that you can't complete your circle. Every goal, every program, everything you say you're going to do, losing weight, becoming smarter, being better looking, doing all of these things, makes that gap between the closure, the completion of self, greater and greater. Well, you can't go backwards, but you can make a gap much bigger. So, dear Shamba, the most important word, self. The most important reminder that any of us can give you is to trust. Trust yourself, nobody else, until you trust yourself. It's there. It's all there. All of the healing of your body. Everything you need, all of the answers, if you would just trust yourself. There's still a tendency to put the trust somewhere else, in someone else, to run off to a reader, or a healer, but a healer who you're putting the power into them. Facilitators, yes, sometimes it's good to have somebody facilitate, as long as you take the driver's seat, the main seat, the responsibility. Then they can help make it a little easier, or at least more entertaining. And you're helping them in their livelihood to earn their living as facilitators. You realize in trust, oh, dear ones, you have fallen out of trust with yourself. You've put this overlay of human, human flaws and errant ways and all the rest of that. It's like this big layer over yourself. Trust yourself, always. Go back to the simplest form of trust. Mental trust doesn't ultimately do a whole lot of good. When you have something coming up in your life, something a little scary, something that causes anxiety, makes your palms a little sweaty, trust yourself. Well, yes, you may feel fear. I'm not saying you're going to erase this thing called fear. Fear is actually a wonderful energy once it's transmuted and put into creative manifestation. Implicitly trust yourself. That's a hard thing to do. You trust yourself a little. You trust yourself based on where you've learned you're not going to deceive yourself from past experiences. But I'm talking trusting yourself with your health. Trusting, the body is not a foreign object. It's you manifest on earth. Trust it. Trust you. Trust you even when some of the darkest storm clouds roll in, and trust that the storm clouds aren't necessarily what you think. And sometimes a good storm clears a lot of energy. Trust that it's there. Stop running from it. A lot of you play this game of what we call being positive. Or you play this game of telling yourself over and over that it's going to be all right, but never really believing it. Some of you play this game of running. Stop for a moment. I don't care what it is. Even if you're facing death, no matter what it is, when you allow the trust in yourself and nobody else, the trust in yourself, you initiate, you trigger all of the systems that are already within you to go to work to serve you. When you let go of having to run other places for your trust, for your protection, when you let go of having to do a false optimism and allow everything, the dark, the light, the good, the bad, and absolutely trust yourself, you're going to discover miracles. Miracles in the simplest way. Please trust yourself. Oh, some of you, I have cried with you. I have argued with you. I've had to threaten a few of you. Trust yourself. Now, how do you know when you're not trusting yourself? Because your mind jumps in and it starts, you get all that head chatter and you lay awake so late at night worrying and you forget to trust. You created it. It's in its perfection, not God's perfection, not God in some other place, in your perfection. You created it. Trust it now. Trust every part of yourself. You know, sometimes it only appears that you're falling down. Sometimes it only appears that things are falling apart. But in the true energy of trust, you'll understand that you've created something in perfection. It's not falling apart. It's reorganizing itself. Dear Shambhar, trust in yourself. Point number 3. The thing that you can absolutely count on. The thing that you can count on more than anything is evolution or change. I've heard it before. The thing that's certain is change. Everything else becomes uncertain or becomes just an experience in the past. Your life is going to change. Evolve. Your life is going to evolve. So get comfortable with that. Evolving means, yes, sometimes you're going to move to a different location. You're going to change the landscape of the people who are in your life. Change means sometimes you're going to lose your job in order to find your true passion, but expect change. You came in at a time of change and you knew it. You have asked for change in your life, but then you're flabbergasted when it comes around. Dear Shambhar, the world is changing, and there are those who are going to have difficulty handling it, mentally, physically, spiritually. You're actually in a better position than just about any other group we know of to handle change, but still you resist it. How about breathing it in? How about allowing it in? If you understand, you're the one who set up that change. It's only frightening if the change comes from somewhere else. But you've set it up. You've set up the changes in your life, the changes that are going on in the world right now. Breathe in and soak in that change. But right now it's going to happen. But right now you're resisting it, so it creates a friction of consciousness, which creates discomfort in your body and discomfort for just being here on the planet. The minute you embrace change, well, you're going to understand something that I'm not going to speak about right now. Adamus will speak about it, but change isn't at all what you think it is. And one last thing, out of my 4 topics today. The gift to give yourself, and you already know this. Some of you tire of hearing about it, but the gift to give yourself is to breathe. Breathing affirms that you're alive and that you're choosing to be here. And how many of you, don't raise your hands, you'll embarrass yourself, but how many of you have not really known whether you want to be here? How many of you have been in the, what you call a neutral or indecisive zone for years of time now? Stay or leave? Stay or leave? Well, breathe. It'll either be your last breath or or, dear Shambhar, it's going to reinvigorate every part of you. Breathing you gets you out of your head into your passion, your soul, and your spirit. Breathing does this amazing thing by allowing the energy of spirit into this reality, into this lifetime. Breathing gets the energies going. Breathing is the way that you bring in new energy from the other realm. Breathing is a gift to yourself. Breathing reminds you of how simple it should be. When you get off in all of these other complex practices and methodologies and searching and hunting, come back to the breath, because that's where you're at. Breathing brings in the now moment. Breathing provides the flexibility of your consciousness so it can expand into new consciousness and new realms. Breathing opens up every sense so you come back to being a sensory human, not just a dull jack. Breathing opens you up so you can feel again. It does. It's the easiest prescription in the world. Breathe. Breathe and then breathe. You want us to come up with something new and different, something more exciting, but dear Shambram, it's in the breath. It's in the breath. And before we exit the room here, I want to leave you with one more thought. It has to do with this sabotaging of self. It's one of the other things we picked up on the Shambro radar screen. One of the other reasons you sabotage. Meaning that you don't allow yourself completion, fulfillment, success. I'm going to speak somewhat metaphorically here, but actually there's a lot of reality to it. We've talked before about how you have a variety of different energies in you. The light, the dark, the yin, the yang, the masculine, the feminine. I'm going to go back in this case to the story of Isis and Adam, which is basically the masculine and feminine within you. But I also want to use it to express another duality concept. And that was the inward and the outward expressions of your soul. A long time ago, when you left all that was, when you went through the wall of fire on your journey that would bring you to earth, you created your original separation. And that created the inner looking spirit, what you now call your soul, your divine, and your outer expression, the part of you that would journey out into the void and create reality, the outer expression that would eventually come by way through the order of the ark to this planet Earth for completion and fulfillment. Using the concepts of duality, the metaphor, we'll talk about Isis and Adam, but understand it relates to the inner and the outer parts of self, the light and the dark, every opposing duality. When the energy of Adam left Isis, it created tremendous pain. For the two energies are essentially the same. They were always meant to be together. They were always in love. So when the separation occurred between Isis and Adam, you can imagine the pain that it caused. You can also imagine an anger that was caused as part of you left on a journey and left another part within itself. Has caused the pain of love and separation, but also, you could say, a type of anger. Why are you leaving? Why are you allowing the separation? So the energy of the masculine, of Adam, or the energy of the outer expression of self, went off. Knowing, both parts of you, knowing that you would return together at the right time, in the right place. But as part of you, let's call it the Adam energy. Adam went off searching. Adam went off looking for new solutions, out of absolute love to Isis. He wanted to create a place that was so perfect that Isis would want to return. So Adam started what you could say building or constructing the perfect castle, the perfect home, the perfect space. And it was as he was building it through his imagination and his creative expression, he kept on wondering if Isis would really like it. Would she like the colors? Would she like the style? Well, he began to doubt himself tremendously. He wondered if Isis would be comfortable here. He wondered if he was just doing this for himself or if it would really be appropriate for Isis. He kept on wondering if Isis really missed him and really loved him. He kept on wondering if maybe this was a plot from Isis to get rid of him. He wondered at times if Isis was deliberately doing this to him, to totally annihilate him, to enslave him, to make him insignificant. And you see this myriad of opposing energies was flowing through Adam all the time while he was working on building this perfect dream castle for Isis. Of course, the castle has never been good enough. Oh, it is spectacular in my opinion, but Adam is still working on it. It's the castle that can never be completed because, dear Shambra, in the somewhat imbalanced heart of Adam, he fears most of inviting Isis in and her not accepting it. That means her not accepting him. That means no reunion. That means no going forward. So if he keeps building his castle, and he keeps modifying it, and he keeps doubting himself, he keeps playing the game, he never has to face the question, is he worthy of Isis's return? Is he worthy? And Isis all this time is wondering, what happened to Adam? Why hasn't he called? Maybe he doesn't love me anymore. Maybe he's found another. Maybe he's betrayed me. Maybe he's trying to assume and collect power. Maybe he's trying to totally annihilate me. Maybe I'm not beautiful enough for him. Maybe he's discovered something within himself that has higher qualities than I. Maybe I'm not worthy of ever receiving the love of Adam. Maybe I'll turn my back. I'll hide my tears so I never have to face. The issue is Adam calling out for me. Is he welcoming me back to him? So I'll keep myself distracted. I'll do everything but look. Dear Shambra, it's the story of Isis and Adam. It's also your story. It's a story of your inward and outer expression. It's a story of the human self and the divine. Maybe you don't think you're worthy, that you've built a good enough house for your divine to join you here, so you keep trying to build the house. Maybe your divine right now at this moment is wondering, how come I haven't received the call? How come I'm not being invited in to this holy sacred place called the human existence? Maybe the divine is thinking that you betrayed it. So this game continues. The deception continues. And the separation continues. Because what if, just what if, the human didn't like the divine? What if it was disappointed with the most intimate part of itself? But it had so many experiences and so many loves in all of its lifetimes, it doesn't want itself anymore. What if? You face some of the most important issues in your existence right now. You face the issues of completion and of acceptance. The big dark energy rolls in right now and says, what if the divine doesn't like me? What if it thinks I built a crappy house? That I'm not worthy? That what if the divine comes in and tells me I have at least another dozen lifetimes before it'll even consider? And that's the sabotage. It is artificial, and those of us who are sitting in our own third circle can tell you it is the biggest delusion and deception that you'll ever give yourself, but it's also the biggest gift. So dear Shambra, let's take a deep breath. It's time to leave the Shambra room, you're welcome back here at any time. You're welcome back here anytime to browse around, look at the pictures. So as we're walking out of the Shambra room, as we're going back out into the gallery area, we posted something very special for you. Take a deep breath. We put out a portrait of you. Nobody else is in the picture, just you. It's a portrait that has been in the making for eons of time. It is dynamic, it has depth and dimension. It is the face of this human incarnation and every incarnation you've ever had. It's the face and the energy of you long before you came to earth. It has a plaque underneath. And the plaque is not written in words that the human eye can see, but the plaque is an energy expression. It is your vibration. It is your resonance. It is your song on that plaque. And as you leave today, we're going to hang each and every one of these portraits, your portrait, in the main hallway. A hallway that every other being who comes here has to walk through. They're going to see your picture, and it will hang here for eternity. It will hang here as an example of a human who left home, who left their spiritual families, who came to earth, who went through joy and pain, but who graduated. It'll be here for those to see that it can be done, that you are standards. So we will call this the Hall of Standards. And if you're reading or hearing these words, your portrait is here. Let's walk back outside now. All of the guests of the past are out here waiting, here celebrating you. It's not about me leaving, it's about you graduating. They're celebrating. But before we release the energy of this day, I just take a moment and feel the beauty, the sunshine, and sure, there's rainbows and it's raining all at the same time. This is the way it can be. Take an energetic snapshot of this family we call Shambra, of all the guests who have ever been here, of the wildlife, of the pristine beauty of my cottage, of the welcome mat, of all this. And I have one question before we depart. Where do you go? Where's your space? Where is your space? I have this cottage that I've created. I love it and I take ownership of it. When you're in your desperate moments, when you're in fear and anxiety, when you need to get away, where do you go? I know where you go. And it's not always pretty. Some of you go into, you imagine a dark cave. Some of you go into nothingness. And this is your cottage. This is your I am house. Some of you can't imagine yourself in a place of beauty that's yours. You have to go to somebody else's cottage, somebody else's dimension. Where do you go when it's difficult? Where do you go to reprieve yourself, to rejuvenate? Why do you give yourself a shack, a dungeon? Why do you have no place at all, dear Shambra? Are you not worthy enough of a cottage like this, with all of the beauty and love of my spirit? I know sometimes you've gone and done a mental exercise to create a beautiful place, but you're tired of it after 30 seconds. I'm not talking in your mind, I'm talking in your heart. Where do you go at night? Unfortunately, too many of you are still spiritually homeless. You have no place to go. You have every tool and every resource. You're not taking up space. You don't need a mortgage. It doesn't consume energy. You're not stealing from anywhere else. So, dear Shambra, henceforth, I invite you to create your own perfect home space. This is the home space for you, for your spirit, for your soul, for your being. Create it in absolute joy and love, and stop worrying if it's perfect. Stop destroying what you have built. You're worthy of it. Don't copy my cottage, because then it really won't be yours. Do it from your heart. Create this space. It is your home from now on. It could be anything you want. With that, dear Shambra, it's time for you to depart my space, my cottage. It is time for me to make my preparations. I have some bags to pack, you know. I have a bit of a journey ahead of me. Oh, I'm going to miss these times where we laugh, where we get agitated with each other, where we wonder, is it true or is it not, where we explore new consciousness. How I'm going to miss this. Be here to talk to all of you. Not through these channels anymore, but deep within you. One-on-one, you and I. With that, we'll be back in just a moment for the last of your questions. Thank God for that. And so it is.